Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick look at the Pro version of this frame that I've already had a look at here on the channel. This was the original Mario5 Dead Cat that I got. This is the advanced version that has a couple of extra features on it, but I was going to build this out. However, I've seen that they've got a Pro version and I was really interested what the Pro version was because there were some images of the frame that seemed to contain things that I didn't get with the advanced kit. So I've ordered one, it's here, and I've built it out and I thought it'd be interesting to go through the differences between the two. Because for me, as a non-DJI O3 Air unit pilot, it probably is less interesting as the advanced, but let's explain why. Now I think it's fair to say that I'm a fan of SpeedyBee frames. The three favourite frames that I'm playing with at the moment, the first of all is the Master 5 V2. This is the frame that I built out in my quad building for beginners. Originally did it in Betaflight, then did it in iNav. Added a GPS and compass, and also stuck a barometer and a rangefinder on the bottom as well. And I'm flying it with Walk Snail, and it's a great frame with loads of room. I also like this Mario5 frame. The Mario5 frame that I looked at a few weeks ago now is a more compact version, but I love the fact that it's available in both a Dead Cat and also more a classic X style. And the other one, if you want kind of a big Cinewhoop style frame, then the B35 Cinewhoop frame is actually really good too if you want those enclosed props. And with SpeedyBee, they do seem to be focusing on making sure that you get a lot for your money, and these frames definitely seem to live up to that. They're not expensive at all. So in terms of the basic specs of this Mario5 Pro version, the basic specs are pretty much the same. The top plate is 2.5mm, middle plate is 2mm, the bottom plate is 2.5mm, the arms are 6. Silicone battery anti-slip pad is included in the kit. Maximum prop size is about 5.1 inches. Flight controller mounts, that's room for a stack in the middle. That is going to give you a nice setup for 30.5mm only. Sadly, there isn't any holes on there for smaller stacks. And then we have a VTX mount at the back. Now, with the original version, there was lots of different options. This one definitely seems to be designed around having that O3 Air unit from DJI in the back. And it's designed to screw into these two metal pieces at the side, and you could put a little dab of thermal paste in there too, just to help transfer the heat from the O3 Air unit into these metal sides that can help keep it cool and, guess, act like radiators. The head has aluminium sides, again in a similar way to the enclosure for the O3 Air unit, and also has this kind of air ducting at the front, which I'm not sure actually does anything, but looks quite cool. Internal mounting height for this is nice and tall. It's 23 to 31mm, so you're easily going to get about 2, maybe 3 boards on top of each other in that flight controller stack area. So you can have your 401 ESC, your flight controller, and maybe something else if you're going to add some extra functionality. Receiver space is here at the bottom, underneath where the O3 Air unit is going to go. That's a little dedicated spot. I'd like to see that. Like also that they've given you access via a removable cover to your bind button if you need to get to that. It's 35 by 13 by 6mm. There's also a cap recess, and that is this little piece at the bottom here. Potentially not big enough for the larger capacitors that some pilots use. It's kind of 10 by 20mm. And there's also some additional stuff that you get that I haven't installed yet. Things like the LED lights here for the side that can go into here, and there's battery straps and all the usual stuff that you'd expect. In terms of building, it isn't particularly difficult. I still think that SpeedyBee need to break down the manual into a couple more steps, only because I think if you're used to building something like a Lego model, you'd probably be able to get it to work. However, there are lots of different size screws, and to get it all together initially, you're going to have 4 sets of hands. But once you have the first couple of plates bolted together, then it gets a lot easier. So SpeedyBee, if you're watching this, please make the manual a little bit simpler. The manual is a little bit more complicated for this one, only because there are multiple options on how you can do things like the VTX stuff at the back, and whether you mount the side pieces for the flight controller ESC stack. There was only one issue that I found on building this particular one. This is the first issue I've ever bumped to on the SpeedyBee frame, and that was these pieces that go between the front and rear arms. They were slightly too long by probably 0.25 of a millimeter. It was minuscule. A little run along an emery board allowed everything to fit up perfectly and for me not to be fighting to get the screws in the holes. So with it built, you can see that putting them side by side, there is quite a bit of difference. Obviously, this is the XH version, which has 4 identical arms for the X configuration. Well, it's a compressed X really, rather than a true X. And then you have the DC Dead Cat style, which is the original one that I looked at. However, having now built both, I can say that the arms are the only thing that's different between the two. So if you have a Dead Cat style and you want to swap it to this XH style or vice versa, it's actually dead easy. You can just pull the arms off and swap them out. In terms of the plates are exactly the same. There is no physical differences between the two different styles. I guess they've done that so the only thing is you're just buying the extra parts. And those extra parts are things like, again, the side cover by the side of the flight controller ESC, the heat sink enclosure for the DJI O3 Air unit, the little LED strips that go at the side. And most of the other stuff, things like the GoPro mount stuff, is the same as the non-Pro version. But as you saw in the manual, you do get lots more options on how you want to build this out. But I do like the fact they've retained some of the really cute touches, so things like the captive XT60 at the back with the antenna, which also has options for you to either use it like this with the supplied cable to go into a VTX unit, or you can use it with the antenna out of the back of your DJI O3 Air unit. It's all been thought of and put together really nicely. So it's interesting to be able to get these things and look at them side by side. This has definitely been designed more around just that DJI O3 Air unit. And SpeedyBee, I know you're a sister company of Runcam, and Runcam are currently big pals with DJI. Don't just focus on doing this kind of stuff. Make sure that there's also options for those pilots who like Walk Snail and HD0 and other systems too. But I really like the price. Again, this is not an expensive frame for all these additional parts that you get and for all the metal pieces. And the finish is very nice too. All the carbon is beveled. It's really well put together. Like I said, I had one very small little bit I had to take care of for the capacitor bay. But apart from that, everything went together like butter. Nice to see that the arms are the only real difference between the two frames. So it means that you can swap them over if you want to. Capacitor bay is a nice idea. However, maybe a little bit small for those of you that like really big chunky capacitors. Love the design of the rear here with the captive XT60, and also the use of that flying lead just makes everything really neat and less likely to get damaged and ripped off in a crash. Space the receiver in the bay below the VTX is a really good idea. I wish more frames did this. I always find that when I put everything into the frame, I'm fighting to put the little ELRS or similar receiver somewhere in the model. And with this version, the internal electronics are far more protected than with the kind of advanced version that I had before. The Pro looks more like a finished thing, and I'm sure by the time you've got the motor and props on and you've put all the electronics inside, it's going to look less like a flying oil rig and more like a finished bind and fly model that you'd buy from the local hobby shop. Foot pads are available to go underneath the motors as normal, just to finish the frame off, with a handful of extra little covers and doodads that cover up all of the other holes. With this frame really being designed so heavily around the DJI O3 Air unit, I don't think I'm going to be building this one out. I'm a Walk Snail pilot, and I've got that original one, which is the one that I've got my eye on to do my next build with. So this needs to find a home. So guess what? We're going to do a giveaway. Thank you for staying to the end. I like to put them down here because it means that only people who watch the video actually end up entering the draw. So if you would like to be given a chance to win this, make sure that you include the word SpeedyBee in your reply, and I will pull the names out of the hat in a couple of weeks' time. Good luck to everybody. Somebody is going to be able to make a really nice quad out of this frame in time for the flying season. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Pedantry 60 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.